So Chelsea came into the 2025-2026 season with a huge spending behind them. They spent quite a number of players, stealing targets from other clubs. Before the Club World Cup even ended, they had some shining stars join them and make instant impact in the Club World Cup, like Joao Pedro and Liam Delap. And the expectation from Chelsea fans went through the roof. But it's not just the fans. Even the club captain, Reece James, after they won the Club World Cup, came out and in an interview, obviously people would say, people like Erasmus were obviously Chelsea fans, they would say that, yeah, it was the adrenaline speaking and all that. But Reece James, in his adrenaline and euphoria, said they should be challenging for the title this season. A lot of Chelsea fans came into the season with that expectation. Even I myself, in my analysis of the Chelsea squad and team, felt they were much stronger than some of Europe's best teams. Erasmus being a Chelsea fan, things are not going as good for them as they thought it will. They've lost 2 games on the bounce, be it with 10 men in both instances. But it's to a very poor United side, which people said they should have beat anyway. And yesterday they lost again. There have been some chants about Mariska Out, about his choices and all that. And we're going to explore why exactly Chelsea is struggling despite the high expectations everyone had for them. So Erasmus, you are a fan. How do you feel about Chelsea's season so far? From a general overview, how do you feel about the season so far?
I almost feel like this sounds like the Why Are You Gay interview. It's like so yeah, Mr. Erasmus is an activist. You tend to hear Mr.
Why are
Why
you
are you
gay?
sad at the fun? It's like you are a fan.
Yeah,
You are
you
a
are a
fan.
fan. Why are you
No, I
sad?
think I think like if you are affiliated to Chelsea, you would be disappointed with the kind of starts that we have had to the season. Not just because of the expectations which were set by the Club World Cup, which I'm going to come to, and which I do believe also sets or increases the belief, but you also look at the entire project as a whole from when Chelsea transitioned from the previous owner to the new owners. For the very first time last season, we saw some kind of stability and consistency within the squad. And we also saw, which led to us appearing within the Champions League for the first time. And people seem to forget this, for the first time in 3 seasons or so. So it's not normal for a club like Chelsea to be missing Champions League, to be finishing at abnormal places within the squad. So the sense of stability was key. Then in addition to the Club World Cup, which obviously we did phenomenally well,
Yeah.
more or less so against Paris Saint-Germain, who at that time were top of the world, I think it did give some belief. I mean, there's a spectrum of expectations which was set. If you'd remember, we had the conversation and I said, I don't think we go out there to dominate, but I think this shows that the project is working and we can have a level of continuity. So for a club that is expected to be stable now and to set the tone to try and go for the big trophies, these are not the results which you'd expect, but more so the mood around the club is beginning to shift again. Right after a very, very positive feeling which we had entering into the season, that we were going to be one of the more consistent squads. The mood is beginning to change again to resemble what we had 2 seasons ago, which always led to us firing a manager, moving out players, or having some level of inconsistency within the season. And it is very, very disappointing as a Chelsea fan to be in that position 4 or 5 years after the club transition into the hands of the new owners.
But a quick question before I move on to probably much more in-depth questions. How far away do you think Mariska is from the limit of this mood that is changing? Like maybe 3 more games lost, abysmal performances in 5 games. Like, is there a metric to this mood change that you think at this, if it gets to this stage, the owners might take a step?
Yeah, it's obviously it's a we would never know, right? It's a question
Yeah.
that you can almost never answer. Like we might go out at the weekend against Benfica and Liverpool and get a result, and the the mood will be back on. I think from my observation, it is more of the post-traumatic stress disorder, which is the PTSD, and I don't mean it in a medical sense, but
Yeah,
if you're a fan, there is a feeling that gets around your club, and you feel like, oh no, we've been here before.
yeah,
I don't. I admit. I think there is a gap in there in terms of the fear that we feel. I don't think we are as bad and far off like we were 2 seasons ago under Poch, or when even Mariska took over in his first season. I
yeah.
think that we have good players on the roster. I think Mariska has built a lot of experience, and I think that the squad is capable of pushing themselves through. But all the same, yeah, it's Chelsea, right? You can't shake off that feeling that is there. But I think when it comes to the question of whether we move him on or not, it's a very big question. I don't think that would happen. I think, yeah, to a certain degree, you know that it's a question that you may need to answer. But I think that first of all, he's been given a long term contract, so clearly there is some faith in him to succeed. Secondly, you could look at what's going on and you can ask yourself if you can put all of the blame on him. I am not saying he's blameless. He has been culpable for certain misfits, but the issue surrounding the club goes way beyond Maresca. It will be very hypocritical for his head to be put on the chopping blocks at the very moment. But thirdly, I think he's had some goodwill. Last season, it was quite clear from all the communication that there was no expectation on him to finish top four and get into the Champions League. But he did, and he won 2 trophies, the first trophies for the project. So I do think that he has bought some kind of goodwill to be able to stay out or ride out the storm for long, which perhaps may be what we just need. Because if I'm also being honest, you need to understand that these cycles of change are very, very unpredictable, and you can have many, many different things go in different directions. So obviously, my expectation was not that we come into this season and come and lose, but I also know that we would lose some games. So maybe these are the set of games that we're losing. And in the past, when you've seen us go on runs, you've seen us go 15 games, 10 games winning. So this squad is still capable of doing that, and that might still make this season a very, very positive one. So it's not time to lose hope yet. It's still September.
Interesting. I mean, my big question for the fans and the listeners is it's true. Like Erasmus said, Maresca had no expectation on him to finish top four last season, but he did. He had no expectation to win a trophy, but he did. He had no expectation to win the Club World Cup trophy, but he did. As much as that bought him goodwill, that also reshaped his expectation for the expectations on him for the second year of the project. And those expectations that have been reshaped, even though were set off the backs of him overperforming, might be the very things that become his undoing. So for me, it's not all good, right? Like I think it's this complicated thing where sometimes overperforming is not always a good thing. Overachieving on your first try is not always a good thing. Maybe meet expectations and progress. But if you go and do, I can be world champion, and then everybody recalibrates their expectation for the second season, the team might not be there yet for those new expectations that have been set. So everybody is just setting you up to fail in that instance, right? And like you're saying, it's not all his fault. So it's mainly me trying to understand how complicated the relationship with his good performances in the
Mhm.
previous season could be, and how that might affect his performances this season. But anyway, yeah,
Yeah, I think it is only fair if cast your mind back to Mikel Arteta in his first season, where he was barely surviving, finished like 14th or so, like very, very bad, lost a lot of games,
yeah,
shipped out a number of players from the squad. Come the next season, he's finishing second. Like he's won the FA Cup, he's finishing second. And then all of a sudden, people said,
it
well, if you are
wasn't that
finishing
quick
second, you
though.
might as well win.
It
Yeah,
wasn't
I
that quick
mean,
for Ateta.
I am.
He was sit twice.
Yeah, yeah, okay, yes, yeah. I think, yeah, he was sick the season that he took over. He was
Yeah,
sick the next season. The
yeah,
next season, everyone sort of expected they will try and get into the Champions League, but they moved from sixth to second,
yeah.
and they stayed at second since. and now you can see the level of pressure that is built around the club. You can't help it. You can't fight it.
Yeah.
So you are right. Once you expose yourself to those performances, people expect it of you all of the time.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you can give off the performance, but it's the consistency in the performance. And I think Maresca has been, he's one of those coaches who's always tried to set expectation. So even in our first season, when we were winning and people said title contenders, he said, that's a joke. We are not contenders. So that gives me a little bit of hope that the fact that he still remains in the job, the fact that he still works, means that he knows where the squad is and he knows what they can achieve. And if even it is an improvement on what happened last season, I think that every Chelsea fan is going to take it, because as much as there's the expectation, also we can always adjust our expectation based on new developments. So that is not too strange. But I think what we won't take is another season where you are finishing sixth, or at the end of the season you are still struggling to try and get into Champions League. People want to have a level of consistency in the performance. And you can, the only, managers say this all the time, but the only way to deal with expectation is to take it one day and one game at a time. And I don't think Chelsea needs to go off the limb over here saying that, oh my God, we've lost 3 games, we are out of the title race. That's for the fans to think about. I think as a player and as a coach, you're probably thinking, against Benfica on Tuesday, I want to go out there and win the game. And that's what they need to do. Because if you look at the performances that have happened so far, it is that is what makes it frustrating. If you see us, you if we enter into the game and then we just can't compete, you can say, okay, that's fine, we can't
Yeah.
compete. But it is against Brentford, Garnacho not marking the back post, against West Ham, it is Esteval giving the ball away in the middle of the pitch. Against Bayern Munich, it is Caicedo like knocking Kane off in the penalty box, or Gusto giving a back pass. Against United, it is Sanchez stepping on someone. And I'm like, these don't look like structural issues, which you would say that,
Individual errors.
like the way Man United. Yes, individual mixture of individual errors, like and we play well. That's even what kills me. Like against Brighton yesterday, we played so well to 60th minute. Brighton was not having a whiff of the ball, and then we just gave the game away. So we seem to be architects of our own failures, which then tells me that if we are able to get our act up, we should be able to put together a decent run of games.
Yeah. The question that I wanted to ask though is, what is an acceptable improvement? Because you see that there's no Club World Cup to win this year. There is no Conference League to win this year. You've already made Champions League position. What improvement can you put in there for Chelsea fans to find it acceptable for Maresca? What's an acceptable improvement on performances?
Yeah, so I don't think anyone is saying you can't lose games. That would be ridiculous, right? You seem to get a feeling that there are some fans who think we can't lose games, and that
Yeah.
pisses me off. The other time I came off someone on the page, I don't know if you are on Wadek, where it was like Mariska needs to be fired. He's a terrible coach, and he's been saying that since even when he was winning. And I was like, "Are you normal? When the coach is winning, you were saying he's a terrible coach and needs to be fired. Why should trust you that now you have clear objective reasons as to why he should be fired? You are
Yeah.
only reacting and you're only finding your voice now because of the losses. Like
Yeah.
I don't understand people who say I don't. He plays Reece James in the middle. I don't like that, so he should be fired. If he's winning, you shut up and you listen to what he's doing, because clearly he knows how to do the job more than you.
Yeah.
But the only reason you're able to talk is because there have been losses. But to what point do you not expect that a team which just or we barely finished Champions League last season would not lose matches? Of course. And if you look at the matches that we've lost, let's be honest, United away, we always lose. We always lose United away. 30 years we've not won. If you look at Bayern Munich, Alliance Arena, it's not a match that you go there and expect to go and win.
Yeah.
If you look at Brentford, I'm not saying Brentford are world beaters, but it is a very difficult stadium that when you draw points at in the middle of the season, we will say it doesn't make you a title contender, but we will not say it's a horrible result. If against you are having 10 men against Brighton and you lose, everyone is going to say it's because of the 10 men. But so the losses can happen, and these kind of losses are reasonable. But I think the expectation of Chelsea fans is a level of consistency in our performances. We want to see them take the right decisions. We want to see them put in efforts. And at the end of the day, see a team that is willing to fight till the end. It's not about them losing one game or losing two games. It's also the manner of defeats that we're having. Is there a defeat where we are collapsed? It's like we're confused on the pitch? Because then that doesn't fill us with a lot of confidence. Last year, we lost to Liverpool. Is it 2-1? And no, but everyone came out of the game as if we had won. Like, oh my God, they couldn't believe this is how we played against Liverpool. So it is the performance and consistency in the performance, not exactly a place finish. Because this year, I can still confidently say that Chelsea is going to make Champions League. And that's what we want to see within the Champions League also. If you talk about expectations, we want to see Chelsea make it out of the group stage and make it as far as the quarterfinals. And all of these things were echoed even at the start of the season, where we obviously had uh, the Club World Cup, and it's
Yeah.
just like James said, Chelsea needs to be seen to be competing. We don't need to say, looking at their performances, these guys don't look like they are serious. No, we need to be in the conversation, not necessarily to win it, but we need to be in the conversation where people take us seriously and say that you are competing for these trophies.
Isn't that too quick though? Because just last season, Mariska spent his entire press conferences downplaying the fact that the team is ready to compete for the title. And one season later, you guys need to be competing and need to be in the conversation for the title. Is that not too quick?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is quick, but also in football, when you are presented with the opportunity, you take it. We don't go into sports to finish second. Like for me, this is where I also disagree with Maresca. I
Yeah.
understand what he's saying from like a leadership perspective, where it's like we are in this stage of the process, but in sports, we don't do sports to be second. The reason if we wanted to be who we are, we'll stay in our jobs and in our everyday lives. We come to sports because of the feeling it gives us, the feeling of competition, the feeling of, and if you're in a competition and you feel like you're not going to win, then why are you there for? Because
Yeah.
even Brighton supporters, when they came to the stadium, they were expecting to beat us, and they had that expectation. So yes, you would say that it's a stronger team, but you fancy your chances. That's what football is. So when you take out that element of competition and grit and fight, and you say, well, we don't belong there anyway. Sure, that's understandable, but that's not why we come and pay you to play football. So we can understand if you don't get there due to circumstances beyond your control.
Yeah.
But when these are circumstances in your control and you are giving away red cards, giving away penalties, no one is going to back that.
Interesting. So I have one last question to ask you, really, but I think this is sounding like Arsenal being the architect of their own downfall last season, with all those second yellow cards that led to red cards, them booting the ball away, Declan Rice, whoever did that, and then they started making noise that they are being treated unfairly because they lost games because they were one man down, all those scenarios. And everybody who looked at Arsenal's season overall last season and them finishing second kept saying, well, they had some silly mistakes that cost them at the beginning of the season. And that's why they couldn't contend for the title properly against Liverpool. And I think listening to you speak and how Liverpool, Chelsea's issues are coming up, it's more of individual errors that are very costly. And it's not like high level sports does not have individual errors. I mean, human beings who would definitely have errors, but the nature of these errors are heavily impacting the games and the consequences are high. If you look at Sanchez rushing out to clatter Bomo with his leg up high, like you are wondering what went through his head at that moment to make that decision, right? And the cost of such a decision is very, very high, or the cost of such an error is very high on the team. So obviously that's very, very that's bad and that's unhealthy for Chelsea in the kind of objectives that you guys have. People have mentioned the injury situations and the manager's tactics as two things that are at the foundation beyond the individual errors. As two things that are also at the foundation of Chelsea's struggles. What are your assessments of these two factors? Do you think what is the proportion to which this is down to the manager making certain wrong decisions? What's the proportion to which this is down to injuries that you are having? Like Kopama is out and is going to be rested till the individual break and international break. And we all know how influential he as a player is to Chelsea in terms of your creativity and your ability to unlock defenses. And you're wondering, is this going to really affect you till he returns? And how are the injuries shaping up your season?
Look, so it's it would be quite ambitious for me to sit here and say this factor carries 20% of the problem, 30% of the problem.
Yeah.
I think the only way to look at it is that there are categories of the root causes, right?
Okay.
And each one of them exposes to a deeper rot, you
Okay.
see. And as human beings, we always want to make meaning of a mess. If things are not going on well, it could be simple explanation or it could be complex explanation.
Yeah.
To what level can we attribute to the complex thing or not? We don't know. But there's what is
Yeah.
visible and there's what is surgical or goes further. So if you look at uh, what I said with regards to the individual mistakes which are being made at the beginning, that's the clearest and the most visible sign. But these are only symptoms, right?
Yeah.
It tells me that there are obviously far deeper problems which goes on. And I think you did mention some of them. But some of these I would still describe as symptoms. For example, people talk about Mariska's tactics, right? Mariska's tactics has been dictated by the number of players that he has available.
Yeah.
And today he has a lot of injuries. If he has a full complement of the squad and he is making some decisions, you can't call it questionable. But the room to make those decisions in the first place has been created by the lack of players, either through a lack of investment within the squad or injuries.
Okay.
Even if you look at the injury factor, I would also say it's symptomatic. It's symptomatic of a lot of games which have been played and the lack of awareness of that situation and organizing the squad in a way in which we can't cope with that situation. Last season, we had so many injuries, which led to us not having personnel even to be on the pitch at different points in time of the season.
Yeah.
This season, we are aware of those and we're still going there with with those problems. Mariska is saying at the beginning of the window after Cole's injury, we need to get in an experienced centre back. The sporting directors say find an internal solution. Why? Because they do not want to block the path of 19 or 20-year-old Joshua Champion.
Yeah.
But he's not ready. He's not ready. The coach coaches these players and he says, I love this player, I love him to bits, but he's not ready. You understand? It is having experienced players like Madueke, who have played at least 2, 3 seasons with Chelsea, and you can see what he's doing for Arsenal now. He's developed, he's grown,
Yeah.
and just when he's mature enough to be able to execute the coach's tactics, you say it's okay for him to go because you can sign another player, and the player comes in he's youthful, he's clearly talented, but obviously he also needs time to grow and build within the Premier League,
Yeah.
which means that the coach is having to spend a lot of time again retraining these players to get them to. So you realize that no, maybe someone is not doing their job very well, and that is leading to all of all of these factors to come in because you always expect to have injuries given the schedule in the first place. Can you go and change the schedule? No. So build a big squad. Build a big squad. If you build a big squad, the harm that comes with it is consistency. So how do you deal with that? Make sure you keep the experienced players in. Make sure you're having a squad that can be consistent, that knows the coach's principles. But no. So I see all of those things playing, but I think it's symptomatic of poor squad building, especially from the sporting directors, in the exact way that they knew. Like look, if you look at the Chelsea striker situation, it is so funny. Like how does this happen? It is public embarrassment that you sell your number one striker. That the day you sell him is the day that his replacement gets injured, and you have no other option but to call back the guy that you are already selling, which which already tells me that you have a problem there. Like, it's different from if you enter into the season thinking this guy is going to play all these number of games and then he gets injured mid-season. No, he got injured at the start of the season and you were already in a crisis or you were already panicking, which tells me that you've not built the squad out well. You've not thought things through. You've not thought of different scenarios. These scenarios are not strange. Players going on injury is like rain falling in the UK. You are sure to have it. And if one injury to one player causes your squad to weaken, and you can't think of that ahead of time, and you can't think to resolve that problem, then and you couldn't anticipate it, then it's not the coach or some tactics. So yes, Enzo Maresca was quite silly with the substitutions he did. I don't know, with the 10 men red cards, quite
Yeah.
silly. But you can almost not blame him because you can feel like he's working with a lot of resentment from dealing with his own frustrations. And people are even saying he's doing these things to annoy the owners. And it looks like, because Pochettino looked like he did the same thing. And you can see that the rifts have started to come in and everyone is choosing their side. But of course, it's very easy to just say it's the coach and fire him. But like I said, I don't think it will work with Maresca because he's been very, very patient. He still got the results when you gave him bare minimum. When you didn't even set the expectation, he surpassed it. So people know it's not his tactics and his methods. It is you not giving him the tools which he requires to work.
When you were speaking and said squad building is the problem, I went to check how much Chelsea has spent since Todd Bowley and Clear Lake bought Chelsea. They've spent 1.6 billion euros on player transfers. So the big pundits or the I don't know how to call it, the viral chasers in punditry will tell you, how do you spend 1.6 billion euros and have a squad building issue? How is that even possible? And I'm sitting here wondering why that could be the case, because I think Chelsea's approach has been to quickly move on players that they don't like, quickly sign players as replacements, especially since the new ownership came in. And it's whether or not they are reacting to the media narratives or the pressure that's coming that they are spending too much and trying to pull the handbrakes on the spending and find, like you're saying, internal solutions, wait for players to come back from injury, even if it comes at a sporting cost, because how long would they keep just spending, right? And some of these things I'm also trying to think, if you brought in a new center back and your old center backs or your already existing center backs recovered from injury, obviously you have a huge game load, and you have to manage that schedule. But that also means certain players eventually become unhappy. So it's like a complex web of interactions that you always have to be pulling one level of it up the other. But obviously, for the average fan, all that they are looking for is, did we win at the weekend? Did we win midweek? If we didn't, then we care about the problem. If we did, who cares? Even if this player is not happy, who cares? We don't really mind, right? And yeah, I think it's also a
Yeah.
sign of the owners sort of reacting to the narratives around the club, but also maybe trying to see a lot of complex things beyond just plugging holes and looking beyond that. Because you see the likes of Raheem Sterling, you see the likes of Axel Disasi. These are players on the financial books of the club, and they are paying them week in, week out, but they are still not within the project. And you are wondering whether or not, if they don't take care, there might be players like that down the line who are assets of the club, but they don't get benefits from them because they are just sitting on the bench and not playing. Right. So anyway,
Yeah.
any
I know
final words
sir,
to your Chelsea fans, other Chelsea fans who are listening?
no, so for me, I just wanted to touch on two things. First
Yeah.
off, with this amount spent in squad building, and then the players left out. To start with the latter, people have said, why aren't you bringing Axel Disasi and Raheem Sterling back into the squad? And Mariska said, because the club has not told me otherwise. which means that the club is taking active decision as to who stays in the squad or not.
Yeah.
So it's not like Mariska is saying, I don't like this player, so he should go. The club is also saying, we want this player to go. And the reason why it's not hard to imagine that is because you also know it's a big point I'll be coming to, that the financial factors. So for example, Ben Chilwell, they simply just did not want him because he was taking a lot of wages. They tried to get him to reduce it. It didn't work out. They kept him out of the squad.
Yeah.
So these are ruthless business decisions. Axel Disasi, to get his wages off and to make back some money on him, partly also because these players are not good enough. They've not been consistent. And the more they play, the more they are taking up somebody's spots. So it's best they go. Let's assume that's the case. But
Yeah.
it tells me that the club is taking an active part in those players being there or not, and whether they are good enough. Like, that's what we always do and say. Like, I don't get into the romance of players who are out of the squad coming back in and being the saviors. It is a
Yeah.
hard thing to do. Like, it doesn't happen anywhere. Imagine
Yeah.
on your team the guy who is always lazy and checking out, and one day we say, okay, you know what, can we convince this guy to come back and he will come and take over and save us? He most likely won't. So I don't cry over spilt milk. If we've made a decision that I should go and they couldn't find an agreement to go and they are there, they should stay there. And it happens in every single club. My problem is with the squad building, because with the squad building, and you mentioned 1.6 billion, it can be put into context, and you know that we still had to move a lot of players out.
Yeah.
The A new era comes in, they want to buy their own set of players. They tried the squad building thing one or two times and it didn't really work out, and they had to do a clear out over and over again. So you will have this inflation. It's also coupled with the fact that we've also sold quite well, and we've sold a lot. So this money that we're looking at in terms of the net spend is probably still consistent with what we've been doing season upon season. The problem is that if this is the justification, then we should be seeing an outcome that is close to what
Yeah.
success looks like.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem has been. Because the model is built on the future. That's the sense that I get, that the model is built
Yeah.
on the future. But for us to get to the future and get there well, we need to be doing well in the present. And it does seem that for every time we're struggling in the present, we are able to enter into this escapist narrative that, oh, well, but at least we have these players coming in line. What good is that doing us on match day 6? How does it make me feel good that we have two world class centre backs who will knock it out of the park somewhere in the German or French league playing? What good does it do me that Sanchez is getting silly red cards, but we have some Mike Pendes 19-year-old? I get it. Like, I get it, but it's not doing me any good now. But like you said, maybe because I'm a fan and I think in the now. But
Yeah.
if my owner is not thinking, the best owners are ones who think like fans, or at least try and reflect fans' desires.
Yeah.
If that's not what's happening, then I'm a bit worried. But more so, and this is why I talk about why I flagged in the beginning, more so because then the optics of it look horrible because of the trade-offs that they are making financially.
Yeah.
These decisions look to be more based financial implication or the financial benefits rather than for the squad building. They want to eat their cake and have it. They want to look into two bottles. They want to poke both of their eyes into one bottle. I don't know how my mom says. Sometimes I wonder if it's two bottles with one eye,
They want
or
to look into
these
two bottles
African
at the
proverbs.
same time.
Yes, they want to look into two bottles at the same time. It is just not possible because
Yeah.
you can't focus, because they want to make 10 of the reason, they've been given, the sporting directors have been given contract extension because
Yeah.
of the phenomenal work they did. And it's easy to say they won the Club World Cup, but the Club World Cup was one competition. The Conference League, you were expected to win it. So I
Yeah.
didn't think it was time to reward them in any way. But the reason they were rewarded was because they made profits. They
Yeah.
made profits mainly through squad sales,
Yeah.
or by turning over the squad. And that's why you see them always going for players who will come and play a bit for Chelsea, inflate their price tag, and next season we can sell them for outrageous prices. And you can do that, that's fine. But that's what Mariska said. That doesn't win you the league. Look at Liverpool, consistency in the squad, and when you are replacing the players, replacing them with quality,
Yeah.
not players that he has to come and spend another year. So hey, take it, and or come and do a light bulb. A light bulb is connected. It's connected. You don't win that way. You don't win that way. You win by building on what you already have, not by always breaking down the
Erasmus,
foundation.
you're wicked.
Then you sell.
said, said a light bulb is connected.
It is connected at the source.
If
At the
anyone is
source.
wondering why we are laughing about this is a viral team talk Arteta gave to the Arsenal guys. He was holding a bulb and connected it to a plug and put it on and said the team he wants to see one person light up and then lights
Like,
the
if the
next and
coaches
lights
do
the
that,
next.
yeah, and if the coach always has to be replacing these bulbs, when will the thing shine? He's always replacing these bulbs. Then you bought a new bulb, or give the bulb time to shine.
Charlie, Arteta is more than an electrician.
Yeah, and I get reading, like, sometimes we know the spine of the team, so I get that some players, but you are selling important players.
Yeah.
Like, you are selling important players. You are driving out like players. Like, I get the Sterling, the disasters. That's what I say. Like, if it's not working, I don't expect them.
Yeah.
But if you are selling them, if you are selling Nico Jackson, expect someone who does better than Nico Jackson. Joao Pedro, fine. Maybe it's that Dilap, fine. But he can't stay on the pitch. Joao Pedro can't play 9. He's best in the 10. So, well, I'm sorry that it wasn't an interview. It was a rant session. I feel like this is therapy. I should be paying the £50.
Anyway, Chelsea's season obviously has been turbulent, and there's no doubt about that. But as always, with a club like Chelsea, the story isn't just about the reasons why they are not playing well. It's always about how fans live through it week by week, and that's why I decided to push Erasmus's buttons on Chelsea and how they are doing. But it's always nice to speak with you about Chelsea because obviously you follow them a lot more closely than I do. And you give the listeners much more in-depth insights about what's happening. So thanks for joining us on this episode. Definitely leave a thought, leave a comment. Really, we are looking at comments now and trying to pick up some of the key things that people are bringing up and reacting to them. Like, I have some solo episodes, Erasmus is doing some of them, and mainly trying to react to issues that people are bringing up that we think are very thought-provoking as well. And we are always out there scanning through them. So leave a thought, leave a comment. We will definitely react to them as well. And hope you enjoyed this episode. Tag a Chelsea fan and let them come and share some tears. See you guys next week.